What if I told you a piece of cardboard printed with a pirate grin and a manga artwork has sold for the kind of money people usually associate with a car, a vacation, or even a down payment on a house? That card is the Red Manga Luffy. And if that sounds exaggerated, the reality is somehow even stranger. Because the Red Manga Luffy is not just a rare card, it's a symbol, a status object, a market event, a card so chased, so discussed, and so emotionally loaded that even people who do not collect One Piece knows its name. But how did one card become this powerful? I'm Kaiser Turbo, and this is a short history of the untold story of the Red Manga Luffy. To understand the Red Manga Luffy, you have to understand what makes a grail card in the first place. A grail is not just rare. A grail is recognizable. It has to hit the perfect mix of character appeal, visual design, scarcity, and emotional weight. And the Red Manga Luffy checks every single box. That card comes from the One Piece card game's OP13 set, Carrying on His Will. And it features Monkey D. Luffy, the central icon of the One Piece universe, in a manga-style treatment that immediately separates it from the standard alternate arts. And that visual identity matters, because this isn't just a card of Luffy's. It's a card that feels like a panel pulled directly from the source material and transformed it into a premium collectible. Luffy is one of the most marketable characters in all of manga and anime. He is the face of One Piece, and One Piece is not a small fandom. It is a global franchise with decades of cultural momentum behind it. That alone gives the card a huge head start. But popularity is only part of the story. What really pushes the Red Manga Luffy into another tier is symbolism. Luffy represents journey, ambition, freedom, and persistence. He is a character people grew up with, a character people attach memories to, a character who feels personal to fans in a way that goes beyond "I like this show." So when a card of Luffy becomes extremely rare, collectors are not just buying cardboard. They're buying the most concentrated version of that emotional connection. Now, let's talk about what really drives the price: scarcity. The Red Manga Luffy is so difficult to pull. It's very difficult. That matters because in trading cards, value often isn't created by art alone. It's created by how few people can realistically own that art. When a card is hard to find, every sale becomes a headline. Every pull becomes a social media event. Every graded copy becomes a point of comparison. And every new listing becomes another chapter in the card's story. This is where the market begins to feed on itself. A rare card becomes desirable. Desirability creates attention. Attention creates price movement. And price movement creates more attention. And before long, the card is no longer just a collectible. It's a talking point across all social media platforms like YouTube, Reddit, Instagram, TikTok, and collector forums. And then, the market did what the market always does when a card hits the perfect storm. It pushed the price up. And at first, the Red Manga Luffy was already expensive by hobby standards. Early market chatter in late 2025 had raw copies in the several $1,000 range, and the number started moving fast. And by the end of 2025, market trackers were showing raw sales climbing into the high value tier, with some live market moments placing copies far above what most collectors would ever expect from a single card. By mid-2026, the raw market was still holding in a strong premium band, with major trackers showing values roughly around the high 4 figures to low 5 figures depending on the source and timing. That matters because it means the card didn't just spike and fall. it established a new floor. Though, the story gets even more interesting when you break the market into condition tiers. Raw copies are where most collectors first encounter the card. They are the most accessible version and they carry the most day-to-day volatility. But once grading enters the picture, the economics changed. A PSA 10 copies of the Red Manga Luffy moved into the low to mid $20,000 range, and it created a massive jump over a raw value. Now, BGS 10 copies went even higher, and the elite black labels pushed the ceiling even further. That tells you something important. Collectors/whales are not just paying for the card. They are paying for certainty. They are paying for condition. And they are paying for prestige. And they are paying for a slab that says this copy isn't just rare. It is exceptional and an elite tier. At first, the card's rise looked like hype. And in some ways it was. But over time, hype alone stops being enough to explain a card's market position. And what happened with the Red Manga Luffy is that the hype matured into hierarchy. And that means collectors began mentally sorting the card into a permanent place in the hobby. Not, the card is hot right now. Not, the card everybody wants this month. But one of the cards. One of the ones people mention when they talk about the biggest One Piece grails. One of the ones that defines the tier of collecting. That kind of status is hard to reverse. Now, let's be blunt. This card is not just admired. This is traded like a financial asset. That's uncomfortable for some collectors, but it's the reality of the modern TCG culture. And when a card starts reaching a high 4 figures and then 5 figures, it stops behaving like a hobby item and it starts behaving like a store of value for certain buyers. Some people might want it because they love One Piece. Some might want it because they believe it will rise. Some might want it because the card signals status. And some might want it because they know that when a card is this scarce, there will always be someone else willing to pay more. That mix of motives is what makes the market volatile, but also so powerful. So where does the Red Manga Luffy go from here? That depends on one question. Is it a hype card? Or is it a permanent grail? The Bullish case is strong. The character is timeless. The art is instantly recognizable. And the scarcity is real. The card has already proven it can command premium attention across raw and graded conditions. And if One Piece continues to grow as a long-term collecting market, the Red Manga Luffy could stay in the top tiers for years. But there is a risk on the other side. If too many copies enter the market, and if grading population rise too quickly, or if the broader TCG market cools, the card could lose some of its speculative momentum. But that doesn't mean it becomes worthless. It just means it could shift from explosive growth to a more established premium collectible. And honestly, that might be the most realistic outcome. And so, the Red Manga Luffy is more than a rare card. It is a case study in how modern collectibles are made. It shows how character power, visual designs, scarcity, social media, and grading culture can collide and create a market phenomenon out of something that began as a trading card in a booster pack. In a lot of ways, the Red Manga Luffy is the perfect card for this era. It is a collectible It is aspirational. It is hard to find. It is easy to recognize. And it sits at the crossroad of fandom and finance. That's why people chase it. And that's why people talk about it. And that's why, even now, it still feels like the card everybody wants to pull, own, grade, and show off. Because the Red Manga Luffy isn't just a card. It's the story of what happens when a hobby creates its own legend. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, do everything. Do whatever you guys need to. And thanks for watching.